hao everyone, I hope you're all well. I'm still stuck in Greenville, North Carolina, but I suppose the positive is I'm still in America, so I can travel around as much as I want. And even more so, I've got a very special guest here. He has a PhD in communications at Florida State University in 1997, as well as his master's and bachelor's. His works include the Asian Journal of Communication and the International Communication Gazette, as well as many others. Today we want to research into his life outside of his research, his experiences, where he's been, and the stories around them. So hello, Dr. Massey.
Hello.
Welcome to 80 Days-ish around the world. So,
Hi.
hello. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. I woke up this morning, and that's always a good thing.
That's always a good thing. So, I want to ask you a little bit about your life and how it's gone outside of research. And let's always start off with how you got here. How did you get to ECU?
How did I get to ECU?
Yeah, right from birth.
Well, the easy answer is I drove in a car. Well, so the universe had me on a roundabout path to be here, which is the best university I've worked at. Well, the best department. Most departments at universities, they tend to be... I'm trying to find the polite word for it.
Say it.
Academics sometimes can be really small-minded people.
Yeah.
It's weird that you think that you're among the most educated people on the planet. But little issues become really big things. And in departments and schools of communication, you have the quantitative researchers who do numbers and stuff versus the qualitative research who are more subjective kind of research, and they tend to fight each other for reasons that are just totally beyond me. But this place, everybody gets along. I mean, we still have, naturally, like family, you have, disagreements and tensions and whatnot, but we know how to manage it. It doesn't fester into lifelong grudges that carry through even when you're gone or dead.
And you've been here for 17 years now.
I have.
Wow.
So I started at a university in Singapore. That was my first teaching job after graduating with my piled high and deep degree, my PhD. And then I came back to the States, had a 1-year visiting position at the University of Connecticut. And there I got a job at the University of Utah, which I'm not a snow person, but it was very snowy. I mean, it's lovely if you like that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I mean, but you want the warmth, you want to come back.
After a while, I wasn't particularly happy there, didn't fit very well. So I got a job at a small university in Maryland next to the beach, Salisbury State University in Salisbury, Maryland, on the Delmarva Peninsula, for people who know that, which is Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia.
Wow, okay,
all have a section
down
of that little bit that comes down. They got buyer's remorse. They hired 2 of us, and then after a semester didn't like us anymore. And so, fortunately, this job became available.
Fell at your feet.
Yeah, well, it would look pretty desperate there for a while. Because I'm interviewing at places I would never want to be at. But at that point, I had a small son I had to take care of. And so when you have a child, your life is different. You might imagine, I was sort of went with the wind when I was childless. But you get a child, and you got responsibilities. And there were places I didn't want to go, but I had to have a job. And fortunately, this one was the one that offered a job, and it happened to be the place should have been at, was meant to be at. But sometimes life puts you on a circle.
Definitely.
You have to have a walkabout to get where you need to be.
And you always end up at ECU.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, it's always a learning experience. Even when things are darkest, there's
definitely
learning. I told someone the other day, there's no dead ends. There's only lessons. Right? That was not the right way to go. So now you know something.
Wow, okay. So going back to how did you get the job at Singapore? Because that's just such a rogue, different place to even start off at.
Yeah. Well, that goes back. I was in the Peace Corps. I was a Peace Corps volunteer. For viewers or listeners who don't know, it's a United States government program started in the 60s by President Kennedy to send American volunteers to countries in development. We used to call them third world countries. Now they're economies in transition. But to transfer knowledge, to help in the development of those countries. Mm-hmm. Now, during the Cold War, when the program was started, there was the additional sort of goal or aim of showing non-aligned countries that Americans are pretty cool people and you should line up with us and not the Soviet Union, right?
Yeah.
So I did that and lived in a hut in Belize in Central America for a couple of years, and then got my PhD. So, looking for the job market, I wanted to go back overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And so Singapore just happened to be one of the overseas jobs that I applied for and interviewed for, and they hired me, so I went over there.
Wow, definitely.
I mean,
sounds
to me,
amazing.
it's kind of a mundane story, but
that's just such a unique place to go. And
it was awesome. Singapore is an awesome, sort of interesting and strange place.
Yeah, wow. So where would you say is the most fascinating place you've been, or the place that you most like to go, or have gone back?
Jiminy. I don't know that I've gone back to many places. Let's see, I've been to like 25 countries or so.
Wow, okay.
I think they're all interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been asked that before. I mean, they're all unique and interesting. I don't know that I could single one out. I mean, they're interesting for different reasons, right?
But you must have an experience in one of them that...
Well, I lived in Belize and I lived in Singapore. I visited others. So I know more about Singapore and Belize because I was actually a de facto Belizean and a de facto Singaporean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you live long enough, you sort of consider yourself to be of that country.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you the one thing I do like is being the expatriate. Right? I mean, you're an expatriate, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not really in your country anymore. And you're not really part of the home country.
Definitely.
You're kind of in between. So all the politics happening in your home country you're removed of it.
Yeah, you're kind of just not aware of anything else around you apart from the place that you live.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're reading about the politics like everybody else, but it's not like you're not soaked in it like you are when in the country, right?
Yeah.
And then you come back and it's just like,
yeah.
It's just
why did I come back? Yeah.
I mean, all the political divisions and stuff of your own country, but when you're an expatriate, you're sort of betwixt and between.
Definitely.
And so it's a very interesting and liberating sort of place to be in. Liberating. That's why I was in print and not radio.
Well, I hope you know how to write that one.
Yeah, I can spell it, but saying it's different. Yeah.
Wow, okay. So
yeah, I like Singapore and Belize. I know them the most, but I like all the other countries.
So how did you, whilst you're in Belize, obviously there's a high murder rate and
I had
gang
no
violence.
idea.
So you just lived in the jungle in your hut?
No, I lived in I wasn't really in the jungle. I was a communication lecturer at the Belize College of Agriculture.
Wow, okay, so you were studying.
Which was, I had a thatched roof, stick-walled classroom.
No technology.
Well, yeah, we had computers. I taught computers. They were they were in our little library, which was the only air-conditioned building. But it trained students who were going to go out and be agriculture extension agents, either with one of the agribusinesses, sugarcane, oranges, rice, or with government. And so I taught them how to write, but write research reports or memos for government, how to public speaking, or in other words, how to deliver presentations to groups of farmers on agricultural practices, sort of development, change communication, and then how to use computers to facilitate that.
So did the students that you were communicating with, teaching communications, I understand that Belize is an English-speaking country, but they also speak the dialect of Mayan and Spanish. So did you struggle to...
Oh, and Garifuna.
Oh, wow.
An African-based language from...
So really widespread, but do they mostly speak English over there?
Yeah, that's the language. That's the language of education and government, like in Singapore.
Right, okay.
In Singapore, you had your home language, whether it was a Chinese dialect, one of the Indian dialects, or Malay. And then English was the universal language across the country. So everybody knew English in their home language.
Right, okay.
In Belize, it was one of the Mayan dialects, Quechua or Mopan, Yucatec, Spanish close to the borders with Mexico and Guatemala, Garifuna, which was the Garifuna people were enslaved people who shipwrecked on St. Vincent Island in the Caribbean and then migrated to what's called the Mosquito Coast of Central America, which is the Caribbean coast from Belize down through Nicaragua.
Okay.
And so they retain a lot of their own culture. And then the Creole people are the British African mix, and they spoke English, but it was Creole English. I mean, it sounded like a lot like Jamaican.
Right, okay.
And, that kind of patois.
Yeah, like the Rasta kind of.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But they all spoke English, yeah. But it was, Belizean English.
Yeah.
But they spelled, the British way, so coming back to the States, it was hard to sort of write again without putting, extra letters. Putting a U in color or whatever. Right? Yeah.
So what would you say the worst place you've ever travelled to? Or no, there's no hate, obviously, on this podcast, but the worst experience in a certain country you've had?
Worst experience? Well, that's another tough one, too, because they're all fun after a while, right?
Yeah, I mean definitely.
Death-defying experience.
Yeah. You look back at them and you're like, wow, okay. I made it through that, so you know what? I can come back to a...
Well, I made it through Peace Corps, so after that, yeah. I mean, I lived outside of my culture for 2 years and change because I stayed back and trained the new group. But I literally lived in a cinder block house, but like 2-room cinder block thing with a tin roof, gas bottle stove.
Wow.
No TV. I had a radio, but I had a bicycle that I got around on, and I can tell you that a third of the group that I went to Belize, and they were gone within a year. They just couldn't. Some of them were gone within a week. They just couldn't. They hit Belize and said, "I can't handle this." So once you live through something like that, it's pretty much everything else is just interesting. I don't know. I was stuck in India once trying to get back to Singapore because my wife at the time was in hospital.
Yeah.
She'd had a miscarriage, and I just couldn't get out of the country.
Wow.
Had nothing to do with India, but I guess that was interesting.
How long were you stuck in India for?
I was there doing some training, environmental training in Ahmedabad, which is on the Pakistani border.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then I ended up in Madras to catch my flight.
Yeah.
She was supposed to meet me in Madras,
Yeah.
but I couldn't get out of the country.
Yeah. But my mum and dad lived in India for a little bit in Madras, and then they did the it's Golden
Or
Triangle.
Chennai, actually, it's Chennai.
Sorry. And then they
Used to be Madras.
They went to Mumbai for a while.
Yeah.
And they loved it there. They both did geography as a degree. So
Yeah.
So doing that, living there was, they say it's one of the most magical places they've ever been.
It is. India's a very interesting place.
Yeah.
More people than you could ever imagine seeing.
Oh, 100%. I've been watching a lot of documentaries recently, and wow.
I remember coming out in my hotel in Ahmedabad, and some old lady was there. So I gave her some rupees,
Just
And then I had a posse. Every time I left, I had a posse of people following me around the little city wanting rupees. So
you became the local celebrity.
Yeah.
Then.
in Honduras, little kids would come in the restaurants and grab your food.
Yeah,
I mean, there
definitely.
was poverty there too. Honduras had like armed guards on every street.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in San Pedro Sula, which is right off the Guatemalan border.
Mm-hmm.
To go to, we went to a Maya ruin called Copan. I've been to most of the big Maya ruins.
Wow. Okay.
only the really hard to get to ones.
Yeah,
are
yeah,
left.
of course, yeah. I mean, I've been to Chichen Itza, but I mean,
Oh, I was in Chichen Itza when you could climb on all the temples.
so that was that they. What, when
that's
did they ban
early
that? That was-
90s.
Yeah, I was going to say 90s.
Yeah, you can't climb on them
No,
anymore.
no.
Oh yeah, I've been to the top of the El Castillo. Same with Uxmal. They've been to all the temples where you could climb them. That's how long ago. And when I went to Chichen Itza, I wasn't anything. Hardly anybody was there.
Yeah, that's because
And then they started busing people in from Cancun like
crazy.
nobody's business. And I actually love the site to death. I wouldn't go back. It's ruined.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can imagine it was magical back.
Oh, it was, yeah. So I've been on sites where we're just the only ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
But no, to get back, I can't think of I've had experiences, but
So compared to would you say, let's say, the Western world, the projects, like the Peace Corps you went on, what was the hardest struggle to get back into, let's say, normal day life, or even going back to because I saw that you travelled to London.
yeah, I have
very...
a sister. I have a sister there.
Wow. Okay. Whereabouts does she live?
She just moved. She was out in Devon
Right. Okay.
by Barnstaple.
Oh yes. Okay. All right.
She and her husband, who's also American. Well, she was married to a British guy, so
Yeah.
they moved over there, and she just stayed after they
Stayed,
divorced. and my niece and nephew were over there. But they had bought a hotel outside of Barnstaple, Broom Hill Estates, that just wasn't making it, and so they're trying to sell it. And she's moved back to London now. I think North London.
Right, okay.
I'm not sure the neighborhood. She recently told me.
Oh.
But yeah, I've been to London.
So what would you say the hardest...
Well, London's like America. They just talk funny and
Yeah.
have different money.
Everyone keeps themselves to themselves, straight-eyed.
Well, yeah, but yeah, you can go places in the States that way too.
Yeah, definitely.
No, you get to where they're not speaking your language. That's where you're not. That's
the
where you're
hardest part.
traveling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, could be. I like it.
Yeah, no, so do I. Well, so I travelled to Borneo when I was younger.
Oh, Borneo's cool.
Yeah,
I never made it to Borneo.
Wow, I mean, if you get the chance, go there 100%. So I lived there for a month.
Doing what?
So it was kind of voluntary work. So we went to the village. We went to a village in the middle of the jungle. I've forgotten the name of it. I think it was Kinabalu or something like that. And then we helped put the water source into the local village, and then helped make huts. And then to get out of the village, we had to trek through the jungle.
Oh, absolutely.
Up
to the road to catch a bus.
Yeah, quite literally, yeah. And then we were on this bus for, God knows.
Ever?
5.5 hours, just bumpy roads.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's a road that in the States, if it was paved, it'd probably take a half hour to get down.
100%. Yeah, no, but I think me personally, actually going from that environment to the hustle and bustle of
just a city.
Yes, yeah, and then to go back to the countryside of England, it was
boring.
And...
Well, there's nothing like. You get outside of your comfort zone extremely with something like that. I mean, you were in a remote village. It sounds like, and without any of the accoutrements that we're used to.
Yeah,
no phone,
no television.
And that in itself was a struggle for a lot of people.
I mean, I didn't even have a radio like you, so
yeah, and so and then, they're people of a different culture. I mean, at one level, we're all human.
Yeah,
we're all earthlings.
100%. I mean, there was ways that we could communicate to them.
Yeah.
Through just body language.
Yeah, I find that I speak broken English very well.
Yeah.
Just a few words of English, some body language.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe a few words I picked up of whatever language they speak.
Yeah.
But you have to be open to that experience.
Yeah, definitely.
To soak it up, because that's a rare experience to be able to go and do something like that. And it may be, you'll never have that experience again, or maybe you'll dig it so much that it'll change your life, and you'll seek some sort of career that puts you back in there. But it's rare to be able to experience that extremely, right?
Yeah.
And then to do it in service to others too, to help people, not transactional. What can you do for me? Kind of, interactions with people. But I mean, you're out there giving of yourself. When I do that, I never expect any rewards or kudos or
no.
And I don't want.
You don't do it for that.
True altruism, true helping people is helping without regard to whether you get an award or recognition. I mean, I don't care. That's meaningless to me. The actual meaningfulness to me is being able to help people, right? And transfer whatever knowledge or experience or help I can do. So that was Peace Corps, and I like going to those villages after Peace Corps and whatever, just to soak up, the experience of it. I guess
just living in the moment and with the people around you.
Living in the moment, yeah, because that's how most people live.
Yeah.
When my son was like 10 or something, I old enough, I took him to Mexico. We went to Cancun just because that's where the cheapest flights were. Right?
Cheapest flights and easy.
And then we got on a second-class bus that stops at every freaking little village and went to Piste, which is the little city right outside of Chichen Itza.
Yeah.
And I told him to sit next to somebody who didn't speak English. And I sat in the seat in front of him, and he figured it out. We stopped and we saw villages where people lived in thatch-roofed huts and dirt floors and chickens everywhere. I mean, it's something you never would ever experience.
No, exactly.
And I think that's what we lack in the United States, is we're so big that we don't have to.
People don't travel outside, and they don't experience the world. I think even in the UK, that it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like people would just stay in England, and my cousins as well. they had that experience. They've stayed in the UK. One of them's moved to Australia now. But even then, that's moving to a first world country, and it's like you're not going to experience, what I mean. I always say I've been so lucky with the experiences I've had in my life, but people don't realize it's just there to grab and to go and do it and to help people or to just see what life is like outside of.
It is, yeah. Well, not everybody has the means or the capacity or the willingness to want to do that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. You can still be open-minded and never leave your country,
Of course, yeah.
Right? But I think, the United States is too big of a country to have, like, everybody should be in the Peace Corps or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Or everybody should be in the domestic Peace Corps, VISTA, or one of the other domestic programs that'll send you into an inner city to do something. And I think, a small country like Singapore, for example, at least the men after high school had to do 2 years of government service, either in the military or working in a government office. I don't know why the women didn't have to. But when the men come to college, they're actually mature.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't mature when I started college. I mean, they caught up to the girls, right? In maturity level. But I mean, if we could do some sort of program together in this country, or to where people would get out of their comfort zones and have those experiences, I think we wouldn't be as at each other's throat as we are.
Yeah.
It seems like.
It seems
because you get that way because you don't understand the other or know the other.
Of course.
Right. And so you just and you're vulnerable to be manipulated by opportunistic politicians who appear to care but are really interested in riling you up for their own self-interest, right?
Yeah.
They're in service to themselves and not service to others, and it's very transactional in that way, which it's always been that way throughout human history, but you'd think by now we would have evolved beyond
definitely
some of this pettiness that we live through. But
pettiness and cushy lifestyle.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to realize how other people actually live, and most of the world lives not like us, right?
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah. So it's useful to have those experiences and live, and it just changes your life.
100%.
I mean, I got a PhD because of Peace Corps. I didn't want to go back to journalism because it felt like, why?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd done this thing. Why do I go backwards? What's the next hardest thing I can do?
Yeah.
And I'm always looking for something really hard to do. Maybe that's it. Because Peace Corps was a hard thing.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
27 months, was it? Or
well, it's
minimum?
a 2-year gig.
Yeah.
But I stayed another month or two to train the incoming group.
Right, okay.
And then went to Guatemala for a month because I didn't want to come home. And then I bussed all the way back home. I really didn't want to come back.
No, yeah. I mean,
coming back to that's what opens your eyes. Coming back to the States after living in a country like, another country like that, and just how much crap we have in this country and how much crap we think we need to have.
Yes.
And how totally unhappy we are no matter how much crap we have.
Wasted, completely wasted. You think the countries like that, imagine they had the money and the resources that the States and the UK and a lot of the Western world had, like how beautiful the places would be. But then you look at it in the other sense, maybe that they would turn the other way and
they might.
And be as crappy as
it could be, because Western culture and is very alluring.
Yeah,
for sure. It's the soft diplomatic power. But I don't know. Some people want to live in a village. Some people don't. Yeah. I don't know how much it would change, right? It's hard to tell. But yeah, people do want cell phones. Everybody's got a cell phone now. No matter where you go, somebody's got it. You could be in the most remotest place and they have cell phones now, but
yeah.
Right, but I don't know. I'm just here for, drifting through this life, hoping that the next one will have more lessons.
Maybe you'll become a villager in a random Belize village.
Well, I keep saying I'm going to retire to a yurt in Mongolia.
Wow. I mean, do it.
No, when I get ready to retire, I'm just whatever my kid doesn't want, we can sell the rest, and I'm just packing my little backpack and
off you go.
I'm off. Yeah, I'm gonna
never see you again.
I'm gonna get my certificate in teaching English as a second language and just sort of go.
Like Bilbo Baggins, just walking off.
Yeah,
never seen again.
Yeah, like Ambrose Bierce. But yeah, I even got a new backpack, like a 32-liter backpack now, so I'll have to pack light.
Yeah, so you'll have to live off nothing.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
That's the best part. Sleeping on the floor. Little stove for some.
So that'd be the next one. Can I survive? I'm always about that. Can I get in something really, really crazy, and then get myself out of it and survive? And so far, it's worked. I'm not dead that I know of.
Still ambling and walking.
I'm still ambling. I got all my limbs. Yeah.
So, last thing, if you could recommend to the listeners one place to travel, or at least try to get to outside of the States,
wow,
where would you recommend? It could be somewhere that you haven't been yet, or somewhere that you have been and you thought, wow.
Well, so that's a hard question.
Yeah.
Because they're all beautiful in their own ways, and they're all are shocking in their own ways too, right? But well, my thing is I like to see all the megalithic ruins. You know, like I said, when I was in Belize, I got into the Maya ruins, and I've been to most of the well-known sites and a lot of the minor sites, and the only ones left are the ones that you got to hack your way through the jungle to get to. And I was recently in Malta with my son to see some of their megalithic ruins there. I mean, they're really old.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're into that, Malta, Turkey's got some cool ones.
Yeah.
I want to go see Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which is like the oldest ritual center, I think, on the planet, pushes humanity way back. Nepal was a beautiful countryside. Guatemala is a violent country, but it's beautiful countryside to see. Just breathtaking views, and the Maya people are just the most friendliest ever.
Yeah, of course.
But depressed. And that's an artifact of colonialism that's never really gone away. No, that's hard. That's a hard question. I can't answer that.
Just as many as you can go to.
Avoid Utah. I wouldn't go to Utah yet. Nothing wrong with Utah, but it wasn't my cup of tea. Well, so I found some things I wanted to do. Maybe that would be. When I was looking for something to do outside of Malta, I found a camel trek you can take out of Tunisia.
Wow.
You couldn't do it easily from Malta because you had to fly up to France and then down.
Of course,
but out of Tunisia, they take you out in the desert for 6 days.
Yeah.
Back. I want to go to the tip of South America.
Mm-hmm. That's extremely random, but wow. Okay, that.
Across and go. That's the end of the world there. At least the way we conceive of it. That's the bottom of the world. Oh, sure, that would be awesome. To get there, probably really extremely hard.
Probably extremely hard. Did Top Gear I believe Top Gear did it once.
Did they?
Yeah.
But that would be cool. Look at the Magellan Straits and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I'm looking at.
Just somewhere wild and adventurous.
Wild and adventurous. Can I get there and can I get back?
Yeah.
Right.
Or
without
even just
being
get
in
there.
jail.
I mean, that'd be a pretty cool way to end your life. Dying in the middle of a random field in Guatemala, or
Well, I have been in Guatemala when they were shooting at each other. So I've never been in a war, but I've been in a war. Not as a soldier. That kind of stuff. Just see things. Because, life is extremely short, actually.
Yeah.
And we should see as much of the planet as we have the capacity to see. I'd like to visit all these islands that are going to be underwater shortly.
Yeah, definitely. Tell me about it.
Yeah, that kind of thing too. And just collect experiences, right? And they all make you a different and better sort of person.
Yeah.
I think because you have all that accumulated knowledge and experience. And certainly in the next life it will help. When you come back and have to learn new lessons.
Or if you spawn in as a rat or a turtle.
Well, yeah, I think those are the people who don't learn anything. They come back as like bugs. Right? Sorry, you got to start over again. You were really shitty in this last life, so now you got to go back and be a bug again. Work your way up from a worm. Make you a fruit fly. Right? You can't cause much harm if you only live for a week. Yeah. All right. So on that note.
Yeah. On that note, we were finishing up. Thank you, Dr. Massey, for
my pleasure and my honor
pleasing me for 30 minutes. And here's to many more adventures.
Many more adventures, absolutely. Drink beer in every country.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
Bye.